Good morning, afternoon, evening, based on where you are in this beautiful world of ours. I'm so grateful to have you here with us today on Be Victorious with Theodora because we have an amazing. I mean, I say that about everybody, but truly my heart is in today's interview and with my guest that is going to teach you how to heal ourselves and not only us, but others as well. So stay with me so I can bring back my guest and teach you how to take care of yourself. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Hope. How are you? How's your morning?
It's good. I got my tea. It's Tuesday
Yes,
morning. I was up bright and early trying to, get with the
yes.
day, had a checking things off my to-do list and super honored and thrilled to be here with you today. So thank you for having me.
I'm so honored to have you. I'm so grateful that I get to talk to you and bring you live to my friends and my family and everybody that is watching our show and learning how to be victorious because I believe that what you do is changing lives. And
Oh,
I believe what it's just so powerful. And you're such a victorious person. And when my friend Sheila told me about you, I said I have to have show with Hope because she's amazing. So you're amazing. Thank you for being
oh, thank you. And I'm thrilled that Shayla connected us because she is one of my favorite people. And I miss seeing her once we left Colorado. I miss seeing her and connecting with her. And she has inspired me in many ways. So yes.
she's
And
amazing.
just connections being made. I that's one of my favorite things. And it's so powerful to see how this happens. So
Yes,
thank you,
she's
Shayla.
amazing. Yes, she's awesome. She's one of my best friends. She's amazing. But so speaking of Sheila, and then you said you left Colorado.
Yeah.
This is how you met Sheila, and through Sheila I met you. So where are you now? Where did you live? Why did you go?
I'm originally from Nebraska, moved to Wyoming. I was in Wyoming for 19 years. Wyoming, my husband's job took us to Colorado, the mountains of Colorado, west of Denver. We were there for 10 years. In that time, we became empty nesters. And I had a fitness background for many years. And I don't know, fitness background for many years, but then with my own health issues, which started in 2006, it propelled me down more of a wellness journey. And I started holding events at my home in the mountains in Pine, Colorado, wellness events, yoga retreats. My goal was to just introduce women to all of the amazing coaches, professionals, practitioners, speakers, mentors that crossed my path and helped me on my wellness journey. So I just started holding events and was doing that for about 3 years. And then COVID hit. And
Yes,
in the meantime, as we were holding events, we had a beautiful place to hold the events, but we didn't have lodging. And I really wanted lodging. I wanted my guests, I want to do weekends. We made it work, but it wasn't ideal. And so my husband and I, we just kept talking about kind of this dream. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a place where we could hold events, but also offer lodging to people so they could stay if we did a weekend retreat, if we wanted to
yes,
do a whole week type event? Um, we just started talking about kind of what that would look like. And we started exploring where we wanted to be, excuse me, kind of our dreams of the life creating the
yes,
life that we love,
yes.
what that looked like. And as we started to explore, it took us for the first time ever to Montana. We had never gone. It was one of those moments when we got there and we started looking around at the little towns. I'm a small town girl. Looking around at the little towns, we just fell in love. And COVID hit, we had to put the events on hold. And my husband said, you know, maybe now's the time. We found this property for sale. Maybe now's the time to invest in it and eventually build. And so that's what we did. And in the meantime, because the house market was crazy, so we decided to, not knowing what the house market was going
Right.
to do, in the
Right.
future, we decided to sell our house, and we are living temporarily in Pinedale, Wyoming. My husband's kind of from this area, and his mom has a vacation home here that she comes to during the summer. So she's allowed us to stay here for the last year and a half while we're
Building.
preparing, and we're breaking ground. We're getting ready to break ground here on the build this next month.
That's awesome.
So once we're built, we're gonna have lodging for people. We're gonna have a small event space. I say small because my events, my wellness, call them wellness holistic events. Want to continue to collaborate with a variety of people, but I prefer small groups. I love the connection. I love the community. I love the conversations that happen. Just a real safe environment where people can come and share their stories, be vulnerable, and have those conversations and feel like they're really supported in whatever season they're going through in life.
Wow. You're
So,
so amazing. You're a gift from God to the world,
oh
honestly,
my gosh,
because
thank
there's
you.
not many people that do that for others, you know? There's I feel like everybody's on a path to figure out, and but not many people think about others and what can they give and how can they help, and what you do. I mean, I know Sheila said, next time Hope is opening an event, you are gonna be there.
Yeah, you guys are coming.
we're, we are gonna be there. But I want to ask you, how did you start your journey in this? How did you start your path? I know you mentioned a few
Yeah.
medical hiccups there, but were you always passionate about
No.
wellness? And tell us, how did you find your call?
I was passionate about fitness for many years. My older brother is a power lifter, and he got into weightlifting in high school. And so, gosh, I think I was 12, 13 when I kind of was watching, and he played racquetball. I mean, this was in the 80s. So he played racquetball, and I just kind of got into that side of things. The whole mentality, no pain, no gain, the harder and more intense your workouts are, kind of the ego driven type. So, and then in my mid 20s, I became a fitness instructor and did that for many years, and it was kind of a crutch for me. I was going through a divorce, had a lot of chronic stress in my life, which ties into what I teach now. But I was like, even though I was a fitness instructor, I was the most unhealthy fitness instructor in the world. On the outside, I looked very healthy, but I would go to my car and smoke a cigarette in between teaching my classes because I smoked. That curbed my anxiety. And then I ate horrible. I hated to cook. So it was fast food, it was processed food, it was whatever I could get my hands on that was easy.
Right.
That's what I ate, and I fed my kids. I drank more again for anxiety. I was a social drinker, but again, they were my crutches for the emotional chronic stress that I was trying to avoid. So fast forward, that was in 2000, fast forward to 2006, still doing all those things, living that lifestyle. Kind of gave up smoking a little bit.
Mhm.
My health tanked. It was debilitating. I was in chronic pain all the time, fatigue, headaches, brain fog. Um, Gosh, I'm trying to think what other symptoms. It got to the point where I couldn't teach my fitness classes, which is what I love to do. I love to be active, but I was in so much pain I couldn't teach anymore. So cut back on that. And then starting going down the medical route to figure out what was wrong. Was it my thyroid? Because thyroid disease runs in my family. Was it they were checking me for multiple sclerosis? So was it MS? I was seeing a neurologist. I couldn't get any answers. There was no medical explanation as to what was going on with me. At that time in 2006, they basically said, you have fibromyalgia. which was a very unknown disease at the time. But they said, we're going to put you on anti-inflammatories, pain meds, um, anti-anxiety pills, and antidepressants.
Everything they could to just throw it on you.
Yeah, but not tell me, they weren't telling me what I could actually do to fix what the problem was. They didn't know.
Right.
There was no explanation. And so I just decided that that point in time, I didn't want to go down that path. I didn't know what path I wanted to go down. I just knew I didn't want to go down that path. In the back of my head, I said, I don't want to have a mindset where, oh, I just have to suffer with this for the rest of my life.
Yes.
I just didn't want to do that. My quality of life had deteriorated so bad. And I didn't want to live like that. So I did something nobody around me had ever done or ever talked about. I had no clue what I was doing. I just decided, okay, I want to find the core root of my problem, and I want to find some alternative options to deal with this. And once I made that decision, it was like when you manifest things and you open that door, just all sorts of things started
Yes.
crossing my path. Healers. I found a wonderful integrative medical provider who helped me dig a little bit deeper into the core issues. Nutritionists, mental health providers who kind of had a more holistic mind, body, emotional body approach. Just all of these people sort of crossed my path, and I just learned. And the more I learned, the more I loved. And the more I loved, the more I started to educate myself. So that was the path that, yeah, it took me down this road. And so now it's been 16 plus years of experience of learning and educating myself and certifications. And now I had so many people help me. Now that's what I want to do. I want to pay it forward because I don't want women to, one, have to suffer. I have 4 daughters. The last thing I want them to do is needlessly suffer with symptoms or feel like they're at the mercy or of these symptoms for the rest of their life, because we don't have to be.
We have some amazing viewers here with us. Tom Ginn says, love to have hope on a new program, Our Own Health. So you have
Hi,
an
Tom.
invitation, and Tom would love to connect with you. So
Wonderful.
I'm going to post your website and tell me if this is right, where people can reach out to you.
Yes.
Is this the website that you're invited our viewers to find you, learn more about you, and be able to connect with you?
Yes, that's the website. And you will see on there, I offer a variety of education courses. I'm an author and a wellness educator, a little bit different than a coach. But I do a couple different things due to my passions in life. I have a variety of different courses which educate. I love, love, love to educate people on how our bodies are designed to work. When we understand how chronic stress and environmental issues and all of that is impacting what's going on inside of us and how it affects how our body works and works together as a whole, it's easier for us to understand what we need to do and advocate for our health. So then I educate, but then I equip people with self-care tools. But at the same time, if people want to go deeper in one specific area, I connect them with other practitioners and providers who are specialized in one specific area. So I still love collaboration. So I have 3 different courses that I offer with that. The other thing that I absolutely love to do is I worked in a field. I helped investigate crimes against children for many years, and I worked at a supervised visitation center, worked with law enforcement, Department of Human Services, people who serve others. And there's a ton of them. Over the years, I've learned that one of the top jobs where stress affects our mental health and our capacity to do our job well is veterinarians. Veterinarians have a high rate of chronic stress that really impacts fatigue. call it compassion fatigue, vicarious trauma, just from the work that we do serving others.
Wow.
So I love to go into programs, work environments, and teach staff, employees, volunteers how to take care of their health so that they can thrive in the jobs that they love. Because they came to this career for a reason, but because of the stress that they deal with in dealing with other people's grief and loss and trauma, it takes such an impact on how they can show up and do their work. So if I go in and I can support them as they're supporting others. So that's another option that you will find on my website. I love to support those who are serving others.
You're so incredible. You're so incredible.
You're giving me a big ego boost.
I'm so grateful that I got to one have you on my show and learn everything that you do. This is so amazing.
Thank you.
So amazing. And I also know you're a published author,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
tell us about that. What do you have one book or?
I've published two, and I have three more written, but I'm working on a trilogy right now. Probably won't be published until 2023. What I love romance novels. I love them. I grew up reading them, but I went through a divorce in my mid-20s and realized that some of the romance novels we read do a little bit of a disservice to the realities of life.
Bigger the service.
Yeah, I was like, that's unrealistic. And the poor men who have to live up to these expectations of men in these romance novels, and the women too. So I decided to, I had I did an interview for a newspaper. Gosh, when was it? Last October. And she titled them Reimagined Romance. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect, because what I've realized on my own journey of healing and relationships and wellness, and then working with so many women and working in the jobs that I do, I've realized that the relationship with ourself impacts the relationships that we have with others, our spouses, our kids, our friends, how we show up for work, and how we show up each and every day. So what I've done in my reimagined romance novels is I've taken real life scenarios, the grief, the loss, the traumas, the struggles, the seasons that we all go through that really shift and change our perspective of how we see ourselves, our self-worth, our value, our love that we're able to give ourselves and then ultimately give others. And so I go into the darkness with my characters. And in the darkness, sometimes it's painful and it's ugly and it doesn't feel comfortable. And so I go through their darkness, but I bring them through whatever scenario. And it's not just one scenario. We're layers of scenarios that kind of impact our life. We have childhood stuff. We have, adult stuff, and we have, loss of loved ones that impact how we show up in the world. Yes. So I take my characters through the healing process and show that it is possible to have happily ever after, despite what we've gone through, and that our past does not have to define us.
Wow. I need your books. I need to read them. And Troy, I'm with you. Awesome. This is awesome.
Thank you.
I went through a divorce in 2013. Yeah. And then my father passed away in 2017. And 2016 was a very, very devastating medical year for me. Wow. And the relationships and so everything kind of dragged me down to where my tank started to be empty, not only empty, but dry.
Yeah.
So I relate to everything you say so deep, and I'm so excited for your center to be open so that I can get back And
Yeah.
I'm working very, very hard on myself to where I recognize all those things. I recognize that the damage that stress is doing to my life, and most importantly, the words that I say to myself,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
um, changing those. And so many women that come to your, in your programs, is that one of the first thing that we need to be aware of? Where do we start this journey? Where do you begin healing me, take me?
I think truly it's just intention. I think there's not one right answer as far as where I start, because I think it's different for everybody. We're all so uniquely made, and our experiences are so I say our experiences are very unique, but internally, kind of what we go through as human beings is, I've just found, is very similar. All of our hearts, men, women, our hearts are similar, even though our experiences may look different. What goes on in our hearts and our core of who we are and love is all very similar. So, I don't ever, again, I I'm all about planting seeds. And when seeds are planted, sometimes they resonate, and then there's other ones that don't. So I tell my clients and participants all the time, there's going to be things that you hear and it's going to be like, wow, that's exactly what I needed. And it was one takeaway, that one small shift that's going to propel future shifts, because it's a journey. It's a never ending journey. And I'm still on it. I mean, I've had a very stressful year, and I've had to go back to kind of the core of where I started with, some of my reminders too. And I have a
Yes.
great group of friends and mentors and coaches that are my go-to people that keep me on track as well, because it's a never-ending journey. And so when you make one small shift, wherever that is, wherever you start, it is going to propel out in other areas of your life. And with intention, it just opens doors. Setting that intention, it when those doors open, you're just going to start seeing more and more and more. And there's going to be things that maybe don't resonate with you, and that's okay. You can leave them behind.
Right.
And maybe 5 years later, they'll come back and you'll be like, okay, that makes more sense to me now. I'm at this time and place, and what I'm dealing with now, that makes more sense to me now than it did 5 years ago. So it's
Yes.
just a process. It's a shift. Um, I do honestly believe that the more we know about stress, especially chronic stress, and how it impacts us biochemically, physically, emotionally. We were taught a hodgepodge of stuff when we were growing up, that I don't want to say it didn't necessarily make sense, but now knowing what I know, um, I want to teach generations that come behind us something different, so that it's not so intimidating and daunting to make the shifts and changes. And the more we know about how stress impacts us,
Yes.
I think that is just so key, because, and then also understanding the different angles stress comes at us. Like I talked about earlier, the fitness thing,
Yes.
that I was kind of sick and twisted, and it was intense, and it was no pain, no gain. When I realized that that type of exercise, the stress that it was impacting on my stress hormones, I had to make a shift. But again, that's not something that's really talked about a lot, because our society expects us to be able to do that. But when it's counterproductive, we don't really understand why. So we try to exercise more to make it work. But internally, our stress hormones are running havoc, which is then affecting our mood hormones, our metabolic hormones, our sex hormones. They're all connected. And when we know that, and the different avenues that stress is coming at us that sometimes we don't think about, that's where we can start to really make a change.
Wow. Wow. I need you.
I'm here.
I I need you to move from Wyoming back to Denver, live in your house. I need you to like, yes. You were speaking of future generations. Is
Yeah.
your program, do you get to do, like, for example, single mothers like me, do they bring their
Mhm.
children? Do you get to work with children? Do they because more and more lately, let's say my daughter's 10,
Mhm.
between 10 and let's say 16, where they try to figure out, they're just so stressed.
Yeah.
So many things are thrown at them: school, expectations, extra activities.
Mhm.
How do we help our children?
Truly, it starts with us. The more we know and the more shifts that we can make, it's really going to impact our kids. Just by setting that example and teaching them. I didn't know any of this stuff. In 2006, my daughters were 10 years old. They were born in 1996. So in 2006, when I was a yoga instructor, meditation was part of my world,
Mhm.
some energy healing was part of my world prior to that. But it was in 2006 where I really dove down and said, I'm making a lifestyle change. Um, so my kids were 10. And again, I was feeding them everything out of a box, out of a can, out of a bag, out of a drive-through.
Stop
And
talking about me.
yeah, that was me. And so no shame in it. I mean, we don't know what we don't know. And
Yeah.
I didn't know at that time. They also had developed a really rare autoimmune disease. And so that kind of propelled me too to like, okay, there's something to this with what's going on in us internally is causing these autoimmune diseases and coming out in these physical symptoms. So, they were 10 when I really started down the path of this. And the more I learned and the more I set the example, the more they were watching. We would meditate at night. We would talk about right before bed. We would do like a 10 or 15-minute meditation. Sometimes we would read positive affirmations before bed. That became a big thing at that point in time, too. By the time they were seniors in high school, they had sticky notes all over their room of positive affirmations just because I had introduced that and they liked it, just felt good to them. There were other things that I did that they're like, no, I don't want any part of
It's
this.
amazing how much they watch and
Yeah.
they listen and they absorb.
Yeah.
Before I move forward, I want to remind Tom that you are now in Wyoming, but your wellness center is going to be in Montana
It is. Yeah.
soon. And then Robert said that you live in our hearts, and I agree.
Robert, thank you. Thank you. Here's the thing. I love connecting with clients. I love participants that come to my retreat. It's twofold because yes, I'm offering a service, but what you guys bring to me, the conversations, the the connections
Yes,
of things that we go through
the
when
gratitude of what you do.
yeah, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to talk about it, I learn just as much from all of you, if not more, because they're great reminders to me. I may be a teacher now, but I never stop learning. And I couldn't continue to learn and do what I do if it wasn't for all of you and just the connections and the conversations that happen with that. So
Oh,
so
you're
I thank all
so
of you.
amazing. You're so amazing. Speaking of us,
Mhm.
and we have Tom and we have Robert and we have other viewers here. Are
Yeah.
you? Do men come to your programs? I know you work with women, and we are so open to change and embrace our health and do magic things for ourselves. How open do you see men being to your programs?
So, and it's ever evolving right now as we move forward. In Colorado, it was just women. Online, I hold right now. I'm in small town Wyoming. You guys, it is 2,000 people, and the closest town is 2 hours. A big town is 2 hours away. So I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I am doing almost everything online right now. And I am definitely open to men as well, especially with the stress piece. When I go to businesses and nonprofits and schools, and I'm working with those who serve others, men and women all across the board, because we all have those jobs that we love and we want to thrive in, but for whatever reason, we get compassion fatigue, we get burnout, so that's men and women for sure. Depending on the topic on my online webinars, my adrenal health, that's has to do with our stress hormones, both for men and women. I do have a women's hormonal health one that dives more into PMS and menopause and what's going on with that, targeted more towards women. My Calm Your Chemistry, definitely for men and women. So it just depends. Now, when we start holding events in Montana, again, it'll depend on my speaker. It'll depend on the topic, because we're going to have a variety of topics. I'm going to be bringing in collaborative partners to hold events with me. So ideally, yes, both men and women, but it'll just toggle depending on the topic and the theme of the event.
Wow.
So, and my goal is, speaking of single moms, that you brought this up, very passionate in my heart for single moms, because I was one for many years, hence the chronic stress.
Guilty.
Which, Theodora, yeah, so I do have plans in the future. Definitely. I have, when our event space is open again, we probably won't hold, it'll probably hold 20 to 25 people, my event space. So again, small groups, but I do want to open them up to a couple times a month support groups, especially divorce support groups. I found that is lacking a lot in our society. I mean, we have mental health providers that can help us through it, but in actual divorce support groups are hard to find.
Right.
So that's one I want to do. I want to eventually have a scholarship for single moms to come to my events. So I have a vision. I haven't voiced that out loud to anybody but my husband. So I'll tell you now, but I do have a vision for that, because again, I want to pay it forward. I couldn't have done as a single mom and living below poverty level like I did. I would not be doing what I'm doing today if it weren't for the people who believed in me and showed me a different way, a different path, and supported me as I was going forward. So
amazing, incredible. I think once, yes, there is mental health there, but once we really name it,
yeah,
mental health is just such a general definition of what's going on inside our heart. But once we're able to really put the name on it and say, this divorce broke me, and put me not not on top of nothing, but like literally underground, killed everything that I had in my heart. And so it's so easy to say, oh, I'm going to therapy because I went through the divorce. I think that's the way to go and achieve a goal that you have, and having people know that, having women know that, and be able to point, put the finger on the wound and heal that wound, rather than generalize it and say, I need therapy. We all need therapy. having the right.
I'm a lifer.
Yes. And life is yes, it can be.
Well, and the comment that was just up there, and no one wanted to hear anything. And when you're going through these things, Robert, we feel very, very alone. And that's kind of the stigma I want to break, is that there were things that were very difficult for me to voice out loud. Who's going to judge me? I had so much shame around some of the things. My lifestyle, through a lot of it was just it was just chaos all the time. There was dysfunction. It's just a lot. And it's hard, especially if you're surrounded by a group of people who've never gone through something like that. I found it very hard to voice, and I felt very alone in many of the scenarios that I was dealing with. And I want to break that stigma. I want people to realize it's okay to talk about these things. It's okay to talk about our anger. It's okay to talk about the ugliness in our heart that's going on right now, because we had something that broke our heart. And when our heart's broken, we don't always have the best behaviors but it's okay. And it's human nature. Now, what am I going to do about it so I don't stay stuck in it? And when we can have those conversations with other people who've experienced it, maybe haven't experienced it, but have a heart of compassion because they've been through something else that made them feel the same way, that's when we can release the power of those things that hold us back from creating the life that we love.
Yes, absolutely. Robert says his mother was the glue to hold the family together. And speaking of that, I want to ask you, does it happen? Do you see in your clients that they come to your retreat, they go through the program, and then sometimes they um, not forget about it, but maybe fall back into how do we avoid that?
It even happens to me. It does. 5 steps forward, 2 steps back. I don't know what the phrase is, but something like that. Like, or 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. Life happens. And when the seasons of life throw us curveballs and whack us across the head, sometimes it is so easy to fall back into the familiar, comfortable patterns of what we used to do. And like I said, it happens to me too. I was doing my yoga this morning and I realized I was falling back into a similar pattern, but I was like, ooh, but I caught it sooner this time. I realized it sooner. It only took me a month to realize it instead of a year.
That's
Um,
awful.
yeah. And so it was like, oh, so instead of being angry at myself, I chose to give myself grace and also be like, look how far I've come, because it didn't take me a year. Instead, it only took me a month to realize, oh, I'm starting. And it felt really uncomfortable to go back to that. So um, my goal is to give people tools for their toolbox so that when we can't stop the chaos of life that swirls around us, we just can't. We
Right.
can't stop the curveballs from hitting when they're going to hit. But the key is to have those tools in your toolbox to go back to when you feel like you're ungrounded and falling off center and needing to be replenished, because that's just human nature. It's just part of life. And I remind my clients all the time, grace, a lot of grace and a lot of love. Because if our kids fell off center and felt ungrounded and maybe went back to a bad behavior, we would love them through it. So we've got to do the same for ourselves.
Tom Ginn, if he's still with us, he has a show, G's for Gratitude. I see you in his show already.
I would love it. I would love to connect with all of you.
I'm going to invite you to his show because I know that he's going to reach out.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The tools. And Robert says it right. Tools we earn to keep on our tool belt or of life are important. They truly are. Do you work with stubborn people that think, I've never done yoga. I don't want to go
Yeah.
sweat and put in the hard work, and it's not something that I do. But then when they really do it and see the benefit of it, they could totally change so much in their life, in their well-being. But they're so stubborn to say no. They're just that Romanian stubbornness.
Are you from Romania? Okay. I was going to ask. So, it's funny when I was a yoga instructor many years ago, and I love yoga. It's part of my life. It's part of my lifestyle. I didn't love teaching it. And so when I started holding my events, exactly what you said, I wanted others to be able to reap the rewards
Yes.
of the whole, I mean, I would not be as motivated or disciplined or other things as I am if it weren't for yoga. I wouldn't be moving forward in the direction that I am with my health if it weren't for yoga. So there's so many different benefits besides just being flexible and limber. It keeps my blood pressure down. It balances my digestion. It does all of these. It helps with my anxiety, where if it weren't for yoga, I would probably still be smoking. So, um,
Wow.
yeah. And so when I first started events, I really wanted others to have an opportunity to learn the benefits of yoga so they were yoga event or yoga retreats. As I've evolved and brought in more practitioners, I've changed them to wellness retreats. Even though I do for the most part, have yoga instructors there, that's just one of the modalities that people can learn
Mhm.
while they're at an event. They don't have to love it. It's not something they have to take home with them. It's an experience. And so I do encourage everybody to just experience it, because I am picky with my instructors that I collaborate with. I want it to be more of a mind, body, spiritual practice as opposed to a physical practice.
Mhm.
And so again, I tell people, come, experience, experiment. If it's something that resonates with you, take it home. Great. If it doesn't, there's something else that's going to speak to your heart. Don't force anything.
Wow.
So,
Yes. So, so, so amazing. You're just a gift from God again. You're so amazing.
thank you.
How long are your retreats?
Um, Before COVID hit, when I was holding them in Colorado, during the summer, I held 2 weekend retreats. And then I was holding once a month, I was holding 1-day workshops on a Saturday. So I'm hoping once we're moved and in Montana and we have our space built, I'm going to do a couple weekend retreats here and there. Once a month, I'm going to offer 1-day workshops. Other providers and collaborators can rent out the space if they want to hold their own as well. Eventually, I would like to offer once a year a 5-day retreat, but I think that will only be once a year. So I'm still playing with that a little bit and working with my partners. We're still probably a year and a half, 2 years out from having the event space. We're having to build in phases,
Right.
and we're just starting phase 1 right now, which is living space.
Mhm. But still, you're doing things online where people can connect with you, and is online groups over Zoom, and that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Over Zoom. With my courses right now, I have a um, online learn as you go course available to people. People can work with me one-on-one. I offer that, just different personalities. Some people like
The
the
group.
learn as you go, watch it at your own pace. Um, they can do one a month, one a week, one a day. You know, if people want to work one-on-one with me, we meet once a week for an hour and do the course that way.
That's awesome. That's
So,
so incredible. So incredible. I want to go into an interesting question. Let's talk about diet and
okay.
wellness. I think is
Okay.
this is this something that, I mean, you're so incredible and know so much about everything. I want to know, are you teaching your clients, any diet secrets and guiding them through diet? And is that something that we can learn from you as well?
Yes. My second course is called Fuel Your Mind and Body. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
um, I personally, as a wellness educator, diet is whatever it is that we choose to feed our body, fuel our body. I'm not a proponent for any one diet or the other, because I think everybody is so individualized. They have to find what works for them. But when I talk about my diet, it is um, what I choose to put into my body and fuel it. The
Yes.
way that I teach my course is we either feed our stress or we feed our calm. And what we put into our body is going to exacerbate our stress or level
Yes.
our calm, and most of us want to get to that calm place. I don't do restriction. I don't teach people about restrictions. I teach what they can put into their body that is going to be of benefit. And leafy greens, obviously, our vitamins, our nutrients. We talk about our macro and our micronutrients. We talk about where we're going to get that, how we can get it, and how we can add it in, more than we talk about taking things away. Because when we talk about taking things away, something in our brain goes off and
I
it's
don't like
like, oh, restriction, I'm not going to do that. So I tell people, you know what, maybe fit in, if you want to have your Oreos and your cheese crackers and ice cream, have them, but add in this during one of your meals so your body's at least getting its nutrients. And so we kind of go about it that way, because when you're feeding your body full of nutrients, it is going to create more calm. When you're feeding your body full of anti-inflammatory foods, that is going to create stress. So I educate and I teach, but again, it's not about restriction. It's about what can we add in that over time is going to benefit us, if that makes sense.
Yes.
We talk a lot about gut health. Gut health is so connected to our stress. I won't go into it, but the two are very, very connected. And when the microbiome in our gut is out of whack, or we have what's called leaky gut syndrome, our body is not getting the nutrients and absorbing the nutrients that will keep us in that calm state. And it actually it causes inflammation, hormonal havoc, mood disorders, all of this stuff. Again, it's all connected, and it's really connected to our stress as well. So we do go into that.
That's awesome. That's
And
so
supports around that. Easy, simple. I want to make self-care realistic, reachable, and functional, because especially when we are tapped out and caught up in being so busy, the idea of adding one more thing to our to-do list, we don't want to do it. So we just stop. It's like that freeze. What is it? Fight, flight, freeze. Most people freeze and they're like, I'm just not going to do it, because that is overwhelming too. So I do teach my clients, they're very simple, realistic shifts that you can just add into your day that is not time consuming and like, oh my God, now I have to do this.
Right.
So,
one more thing to do, one more thing to take care of, one more thing to restrain myself from.
Yes.
Because so many times, even buying food. I mean, finances lately, when COVID hit, we're looking at how much money do we spend on food, and so many people I know, unfortunately, have to make a choice. Buy organic is sometimes not an option.
Exactly. And now, even with the gas prices, my husband and I were talking about this the other day. With the gas prices, people are having to make a choice.
Yes.
So if I can help support them in things that are realistic and reachable and not causing more stress, that's the goal. We don't want self-care to be counterproductive.
Right. You're so amazing. I could talk to you all day, all the time.
Love it.
And like I said, you're moving to Denver. I made a decision for you. You're coming back and you live in the house. And you know what? Actually, maybe we'll move in Shayla's house, because I think her house is bigger.
Well, it's funny because my friends are like, we know when we go visit Hope, it's going to be like a self-care weekend. And my kids, when they come home, it's the same thing. Oh, so
it's just
I'll visit. You and Shayla can come visit me.
Well, be careful what you say here.
Okay.
Be careful what you wish for sometime, because
I would love it. I would love it. It would be great. We would have a great time. So
yes, I'm just so grateful that Sheila connected us, and then I get to know you. And before I let you go, because I know you have things to do, we all have things to do, but I want to touch a sensitive subject.
Okay.
Stress is the number one, or maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, the number one cause of cancer. How do you help cancer patients? There are people that are fighting it, and there are people that still have hope. And I believe that believing in yourself and believing in the fight that you're fighting
Yeah.
is giving you the fuel you need to cure. There's so many examples.
Yeah.
One of my mentors, Ken Wells, had a doctor get invited in his show, and she was talking about how she cured herself from cancer. Um, what's your relationship with cancer patients?
I don't have a big one yet. Just because when I was in Colorado, most of my events were in my home or at my home. I hadn't done a lot of outreach at that point in time yet because I was just getting started. And then we moved. And
Yes.
so, but I have done a lot of research, and there is tons and tons of studies out there that are linking stress and trauma and the things that we hold in our body to cancer. Um, I have a lot of practitioner friends that do work with cancer patients, and especially in the city in Denver, a, a lot of my energy practitioners who do Reiki and energy healing and all of that, they have been going down to the oncology departments at the hospitals in Denver, at the big hospitals, Presbyterian St. Luke,
Mhm.
University, this, oh gosh, is it the Swedish hospital down in Denver? We were just in Salt Lake at the hospital, so I'm getting the names mixed up.
It's okay.
um, yes. So, but at the big, they're going to the oncology departments and working with the cancer patients there to, move blockages, help with
Yes,
mindset,
yes.
help with pain, chronic pain that they're going through. It is definitely an area that I think needs more discussion and a bigger voice in this kind of wellness, mind, body movement that we see happening. Um, my experience personally, though, is I don't have a lot, but I would love, love, love to connect and hear people's stories who have had amazing experiences with it. I would just be fascinated to hear the stories and get to know them and what worked for them. And, I'm a big proponent of Louise Hay. She has that
Yes.
book.
Oh, I have
Yeah.
it.
Do you have it right there?
I have it. You can heal your life.
Yes.
I've read
Love.
that so many times.
Yeah. Mine's packed away. And so
Yes.
everything's packed away. So it's packed away in storage. And so I'm going when I feel something in my body, I'm going online and looking it up. And she actually on YouTube has 101 Louise Hay 101 affirmations to heal your life, I think is what it's called. And I've downloaded it, and it is powerful and amazing and just gives you that insight as to how much power we have over our own
An
health.
infinite, an infinite. We just have to believe it and
Yeah.
see it and put it to work. And this is what my show is all about. I want people to come here and hear you speak and hear, stories and hear amazing people doing amazing things for others and get inspired and believe that they can be victorious no matter what they choose to do. They can be victorious because here's you that is a living proof that it's possible, and you're
Yeah.
you're amazing.
So,
I'm so grateful the universe brought you to my show, to my life, to
yeah,
my
that's just it. This divine intervention that comes and brings us together. I love it.
yes, it's so amazing.
Can I mention one thing real quick? It,
Yes.
it dawned on me, like I said, I love to plant seeds, but at the same time, I have wonderful angels in my life who plant seeds for me. And I had one last week plant some seeds. And I wrote a Facebook post about it. I was up at 5 this morning and I wrote a Facebook post about it because it was really powerful. We have a tendency to, when things happen in our lives, whether divorce, finances, my body revolted against me, we have a habit of holding on to anger and resentment and hate. Um, and I started my post with, in our most important relationships, our spouse, our kids, our friends, if we brought anger and hate and resentment to those relationships, they wouldn't thrive. And I had a wonderful friend who reminded me last week that sometimes we have a tendency to bring anger and hate and resentment to these other areas of our life. And we ask ourselves why they aren't thriving. And so sometimes we need to look deep and say, okay, what am I holding on to? And I realized I was doing that with my body. It wasn't necessarily anger and hate, but it was fear of is it going to revolt against me again? And there was a little bit of resentment there that it did. And when we shift kind of that mindset of bringing anger and hate and resentment to these areas of our life, and instead of bringing love and acceptance, talk about the shift and the flow of creating the life that we love. And
Wow.
I don't know what talking about the being victorious. That's when you said that, that's what reminded me of that is we have that power to create the life we love and be victorious and do all those wonderful things. And sometimes it's as small as a little mind shift, which you talked about earlier.
Yes.
And it's those people in our lives and the conversations we have that remind us how we can make those little shifts and how easy it can be.
Yes. Oh, this like, oh, yes, yes. I want to hug you so bad.
Oh, I would love it. We'll do a virtual hug.
We'll do a virtual hug. I want to. You're amazing. I
Oh,
can't
I'm
get
so
enough of
glad.
you.
Well, I'm so glad you reached out. I'm glad we connected. I mean, I obviously am passionate about this. I love talking about it. I hate seeing people suffer needlessly when they don't have to. So
Right.
the more we can have these conversations and start sharing some of this information, and give people the power to take back their lives. Yeah. So thank you
Well,
for having me on.
the more people we can help,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited to see your house ready, and
Yeah.
even you know what, at this point, after talking to you and after getting to know you, even if I sleep in a tent, it doesn't matter. I just need to be in the vicinity of your presence.
Well, and when we started looking at locations to do this, we knew location was key.
Yes.
And we feel it's been a challenge. We've had a lot of obstacles to overcome the last year and a half to do this build. And we knew that was going to happen, but the location is we are in Big Fork, Montana. We are on 5 acres on the North Shore Flathead Lake.
Wow.
And we're surrounded by, even though we're in town, you feel like you're out, remote, isolated. We're surrounded by ponderosa pine trees, aspen trees, all of this nature, which is huge for me. I love nature. And then you have the water, and then you're
Oh,
surrounded. We're in a valley, so we got the mountains around us. It's stunning. So just come and hang out, and
yes. Yes.
it's
I'm
going to be, yeah. I
I'm there.
just wanted to bring a real serene, feel good. Nature is so important for our stress. And so to be able to provide people um, an atmosphere where they can just sit and be and not have to do is really, really exciting for me.
It's a gift. It's gifting life. It's gifting life to others. One last question. I know we're gonna jump over an hour, and I'm sorry, I just can't let you go. One
Okay.
question that one of my mentors always asks his guests, and I just love this question so much because it brings clarity to other people listening to us. What do you think is the number one reason people don't reach their goals? They're held back by what? They're not they're not doing, they're not coming to your wellness weekend because of what? They're not reaching financial success. They're not happy, and they don't do anything about it because of something that's holding them back. What is it?
As you're asking that, my brain's going to a million different things, and the million different things come back to one thing, which is our relationship with ourselves. and
Mm.
our value and our worth, and finding that internally. And when we do find that internally instead of seeking it from other sources, I mean, it's hard because other sources can obviously help us find that, but when we find that, then we value where
Wow.
we put our time, where we put our energy, how we invest in ourselves. We're willing to invest in ourselves more when that relationship with ourselves is so I guess
Yes.
that's my
Wow.
hodgepodge answer.
You're such a gift. You're such a gift from God. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for you for being here with us. For everybody needs to go connect, share this live so that we can help everybody. All your friends and family need to hear Hope and follow her. You're on Facebook as well, right?
Yeah.
People can
Yeah.
find you on Facebook. Is
Yeah.
that
I have my Hope for Health Wellness page, my business page. I have my personal page you can follow me on. I post everything on there as well. And then I have my Voice of Truth, which again, it's I post a lot of my books and things on there as well. That one's a private group. So yeah, so I have 3 of those that you can find on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Hope for Health Wellness, YouTube. Some of my I'm doing a series right now called Women Giving Hope. So once a week, I'm chatting with women who are doing inspirational things to give
yes.
hope to others. And so you can find some of those old videos on my YouTube page and then my website where you can read more. So
I'm hugging you until you can't breathe anymore, and I'm so grateful to have known you, and I'm so excited to meet you as soon as I can. As
yes.
soon as we
Well,
can.
I'm grateful to you for doing this. I mean, you're spreading the word. You're impacting lives by having the show and bringing people on. So, thank you.
My life has been impacted by many angels
Yeah.
in the past 16 years when I left my country and I came to America by myself with a suitcase, and I have to give back, but I have to help people understand that if
Yeah.
I could do it at 25, speaking Romanian and new to this country, them being born here, they can do more. Um, Absolutely, yes, you're brilliant, Joaquin. Thank you so much for sharing this. You guys are amazing. Hope, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I'm so grateful. I'm so
Thank
grateful for
you.
you.
This was a beautiful way to start my morning. And Theodora, I cannot wait to hear more of your story. So, you have an
I love
amazing.
you. Okay, stay with me for 1 second.
Okay.
I just want to thank everybody for sharing and for being here with us, and for listening and for learning and for taking advantage of Hope's program, because your Hope's changing lives. So I appreciate you guys. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.